Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Wine, Women, and Words. And joining me tonight, as always, is Michelle.
Hello.
And her co-host. We have another official co-host / mascot of the show. We have Addie, her new little pup.
This is Addie. This is what happens when you go just look at puppies that are for adoption at shelters. But I love bringing a shelter pup home, and she has settled in quite nicely.
She's pretty. I mean, the only issue I have with this is that you've had this dog for a week and you didn't tell me. This is like major news. This is like you not telling me that you're like pregnant and you're gonna have.
We don't have to worry about that. No, she kind of feels like she's just been with us for like forever. But
that's when you know it's a good fit.
She's a lot yappier. She has little dog syndrome, where she thinks she's like, tough. And
I know that.
Most dogs totally are like, I could crush you.
Yeah, my dog seems to think, Lilo especially, she always wants to pick a fight with the dog somewhere on the playground. And one thing, like this past weekend, we took her to the park and somebody had their dog off leash who was just like curious and wanted to play. And Lilo was like going so nuts that I swear in dog language, she was like, I'm going to cut you, bitch. She just flipped out. I had to carry her and she was like hanging over my shoulder, barking at the dog as we were walking away.
Yeah, that's kind of like how, like, you know how you always imagine voices for your pets? Am I the only one who does that?
Nope.
So Rich and I imagine River as having like this really dorky voice, like, "Hi guys, what are we doing today?" That's kind of how we picture River talking. And Addie is kind of like that girl in high school who's not afraid to throw down, but she'll just like put her hair in a ponytail first and like prepare for it. That's kind of like how we picture Addie as she goes off to harass the cat. Or possibly pee in the kitchen. We're still working on house training.
It takes a while. Trust me, it takes quite a while. We still have to work on it periodically.
So, yeah. So we're maxed out. We're good. We're done. No more animals.
Welcome to my world. I have a zoo.
I know. But no, like, not even, I mean, like, no fish. Landon wanted a fish. I'm like, no, we're done. Plus, I mean, okay, a fish maybe, but when we're done moving around for the military, because how do you transport a fish? Like, what do? Stick them?
You put it in a Tupperware container, and it drives with you.
Oh, no, so you're not doing that.
Just put it in a Tupperware container. You'll be fine. A little bit of water.
He'll just feel like he's in the ocean, like on a very violent storm whenever you go over speed bumps.
Just don't put him in the microwave and you'll be fine.
Oh my God.
Well, I mean, it is in a Tupperware container.
That's true. So,
what are you drinking tonight?
I'm drinking.
I made sure you were drinking with me tonight because I don't want to be the only alcoholic in the room.
I'm drinking some very questionable Moscato that I found in the refrigerator, but I am drinking it.
Good. Finish it. Don't waste that shit.
I have no idea how long it's even been in the refrigerator, but it doesn't taste vinegary, so I guess we're good.
Oh, well, I mean, it's been in the refrigerator, so I don't think it has it takes longer for it to get vinegary if you have it in the fridge.
Well, I hope so.
Yeah, we're going to go with that theory. Because it's been refrigerated. Yeah, it sounds good. It sounds smart. I'm actually drinking a wine spritzer tonight. I decided to go with cocktail.
All fancy.
I know, and I don't even know how fancy this necessarily is, but I'm drinking the Zwicker Central Coast wine. It's a noble blend. Are you familiar with the nobles?
Obviously. No, it does sound familiar.
Those are the ones where, if I'm correct in this, they're the ones that rot. They use the mold from the outside. and then they make the wine out of it. So you kind of have this mead kind of taste. Have you ever had mead?
Oh yeah. Okay. It sounds familiar now.
Yeah. So it's got the Zwicker wine has this. It's a noble blend, so it's not a true full noble, but it's got this really nice earthy sweet taste, but it's not too sweet. And then I mix that with a peach pear la croix. Now this is where I get fancy, I know. So it's really good. I'm really enjoying this little cocktail. It's a nice summer refreshing cocktail.
That sounds lovely.
I know I'm gonna have to buy like a case of this wine and just keep buying peach pear la croix.
Well, so Diana and I both finished the book like 3 weeks early.
Mm-hmm. I finished it a little too well.
I got that text. Her book fell out of the binding.
Yeah, like half of the book fell out of the binding. So okay, guys. So this is what happened, and it's not. I don't want to say that it's a cheap book. It's not a cheap book. I mean, this is the first time I've ever had this happen. So I read in the pool, and it was like over 100 degrees last weekend. So you know I'm going to be in the pool reading because I can. And so and half the time when I'm in the pool, I read and play fetch with the dog with Fizgig because she's those squishy pool toys. They're like all foam on the inside. Oh. She loves those. That's her pool toy. So what happens is, you dunk it in the water. I toss it to her. She catches it. Water goes everywhere, all over her face. She thinks it's the greatest thing ever. And so we're playing that, and she hops into the pool, gets herself wet to cool down, and then gets out. She gets out right next to my book, and then there's just water everywhere. So, like, a good chunk of my book, like a good... You can see it, Michelle. And I'll post a picture of this guy so you guys can see on it.
Oh, dear.
So, like, there's
it's been through a war.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It's a good 15 pages were just soaked, like, clear through. Like, if I wasn't careful, I was going to tear the page. And, of course, if I tore the page, it was going to be in a very particular spot, and I would just spoil the whole thing. So I let it dry. But
so maybe the water just ruined the glue.
Yeah, a combination of I think it was a combination of the sun and the heat that ruined the glue because, I let it dry and I let it dry open for a little bit. And then I kept reading. Like, I think this was like the most careful way, like I've ever done.
Page at a time.
Yes.
With
really
tweezers.
Careful, making sure not to tear anything, because I wanted to save my book. And then to make that, so at this point now, I'm reading and I'm floating because I have one of those armchair pool floats. Because I'm classy like that, right? That's the only way to read. And so I'm just floating around in my pool, and all of a sudden, the first half of the book just falls out of the book and into the pool. And I was like, well, that just happened. And then I've got another section here that's on its way.
Oh, man.
So yeah, like almost like the first 2/3 of the book have from page 1 to 202 are on the verge of falling out. Well, page 1 to 172 has fallen out, and then 173 to 202 is on the verge of falling out. So there is a thing, guys, called loving your book too much, and I believe I have found that limit.
You found the line.
Yeah, I have. I mean, I'm sure I can get some super glue and just fix this right up. But I mean, there's this lovely little ribbon in the middle of it. So, there's also that nobody's going to want to borrow my book, which is lovely. You never borrow a book because you never get them back. Never loan them out.
I lend books to Vanessa because she always brings them back, and she's actually reading The Fortune Teller right now. And she saw me reading The Time Collector, and she goes, is that the same author as The Fortune Teller? I'm like, well, yes, it is. as a matter of fact. So now she has like 3 weeks to read this before Gwen comes on the show.
Ooh. Yeah, I will loan books to my dad sometimes. Sometimes. Because sometimes I just don't want to part with them and I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna buy you the book. You want to read this book that I'm reading? Great. Happy Father's Day. Oh crap, I just realized I got on Amazon today to buy him his Father's Day present. And then bought stuff for myself and forgot to buy him a Father's Day present. I am a terrible daughter.
It's okay. I'm going out tomorrow to have the kids make something. I've stopped really trying to buy things for Rich because I always go for like the super sentimental, like heartfelt gifts, and he's like,
buy me
okay,
Carhartt.
I'm just gonna get this part for my motorcycle. So I'm
Mhm.
like, okay, we'll just call this next part your Father's Day present, and I'll get you a card.
Mhm. Mhm.
Enjoy.
I think that works. Yeah.
Saves
So,
me the frustration.
good to know. Yeah. So we love the book, obviously. I
We
mean,
do love the book.
it's a Gwendolyn Womack book, and I have yet to meet a book of hers I don't like.
It's just like, I want this power, you guys. And it's not even like a superpower. It's like, I mean,
It is kind of a superpower.
it is a superpower, but it's.
I mean, walk into a museum, it's totally a superpower.
Can you imagine? Okay, so what would you, if you could go into like,
Oh, hell.
where would you go and what would you want to touch?
Everything? Like
I don't know.
everything.
I
I
don't
mean,
think I'd want
I'm a history nerd. I'm gonna want to go into everything. I mean, I'm gonna want to grab something of Anita Garibaldi's, of course. That's like a given. Maybe one of the pharaohs from Egypt.
I would go to the Smithsonian and touch the ruby slippers that, oh my God, Julia. Thank you.
Yeah, Julie. And see what it was like to be on drugs?
Yes. No. I thought you were
See
going to
what it
finish
was like.
that sentence differently.
See what it was like to be manhandled by a bunch of little people?
Why are you ruining the magic for me?
Because the magic has been ruined for me. The poor woman was destroyed by the Hollywood industry.
Okay, fine. I would go to the Hotel del Coronado and walk around and wonder what it was like and see what it was like when L. Frank Baum was there and Marilyn Monroe and all the other actors and writers and people
Okay.
there.
I'm not going to ruin that for you either.
Thanks, don't do that. Could you imagine just
I'm a terrible friend.
touching elevator buttons? Like that alone would be like shenanigans.
Right? This is why it's Rowan, right?
Brown. Well,
Rowan. That's why he wears gloves.
I would probably wear gloves too.
Mm-hmm. I know, I would too. But I'd be like touching everything.
What does this button do?
Be handsy, Diana.
I don't even know. I would want, it would be like, it'd be the best TV show ever.
Could you, like, when I was at the Getty, we were walking around the French setup that they have there, the French exhibit with the furniture and stuff. And, oh, if I could have, I would have put this on some of that French furniture. But I would be touching that and be like, what's it like to be a French royal? What kind of dirty stuff can I see? Because they got those 17th century Frenchmen got a little freaky.
I mean, even like just where I'm located right now, even going on base to the only naval boot camp in the country.
Yeah.
I mean, I know there used to be two. There used to be one in San Diego, I think. But then they closed that one down in like
So there's really only one now?
Yep, it's the only one.
Oh, wow.
I feel like strategically, I don't know. I feel like there should at least be two. But I mean,
Yeah.
they don't consult me when they make these decisions. So
They never consult us on things like casting and where they should put their army,
naval
meeting
boot camp. I
bases.
know.
I know it's horrible. It really truly is.
So, what do we think of all the characters? Now, are we going to talk the whole thing, or are we going to save some for next week?
We can save some for next week.
We could save some for next week. All right, let's cut off to excuse me, I had a burp. Chapter 26, which is right after, I won't make you open your destroyed book. Right
Because I mean,
after
it's already practically
when Melisant
prophesized.
goes to bed after meeting his Roan's mother.
Okay.
So we have Jocelyn and we have Holly
Mm-hmm.
and Parker and Sun and the I can't think of the word, not present but present Stewart.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So what do we think of the supporting cast?
I really like the supporting cast. I think they were, for the most part, all fleshed out.
I love Sun. She's like kind of, hold on, I don't even know. Did we really get to know Sun until after 26? That might be after. I might be crossing chapters here, guys.
Mm-hmm.
But Jocelyn is amazing. I love her because she's
Yes.
like exactly how I would picture a professor. She's a history professor, right?
Mm-hmm.
At Oxford, Cambridge,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oxford.
One of the two.
So love her. And Holly is like this badass, like no nonsense best friend who looks after Roan. And I mean, if you're gonna have a superpower like that, you need someone who knows your secret who looks after you. It's like Alfred in Batman.
Yeah, and she kind of she's totally his Alfred.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the fact that Rowan has a lot of supporting strong women around him. You see Millicent grow into her own, and she's got her own character arc and story arc. But I love how you've got Holly, who's a very strong, independent woman, and you have Jocelyn, who is a strong, independent woman, and and then he's got Millicent to come around too. So you have these super strong, supportive women around him, and Sun. Let's not forget Sun.
Right. I thought you meant SON son. I'm like, he didn't have a son. Did I skip that?
You said that too, where you're earlier when you're like Sun, and I'm like Parker and Sun. Oh, right. I loved her story, and too bad we can't quite get into her story until we'll save that for next week. What did you think about the relationship between Parker and Millicent as that started to unfold?
I liked it. I liked it better. So once we learn a little bit more about Parker and the motives that are driving him, and he starts to become more of a complex person rather than just like a, spoiled, lazy,
Mm-hmm.
loser teenager. But I mean, at the same time, he you see so much through Melissa. I always want to call her Maleficent. You see so much through Millicent's point of view that she's hurting because she lost her mom and she's trying to keep everything together and she's trying to save the house and make enough money, and you don't really stop and think until it's like pointed out to you that Parker lost his mom too, and he's
Mm-hmm.
going through the same things, or almost all of the same things that Millicent's going through, which I mean is kind of like a duh thing. Like you should be able to.
That's one of the things about literature when you're looking at it from one person's perspective and you see it from their perspective. It's really easy to understand with their perspective. And that's
Yeah.
what you align yourself with. And so with Millicent, she was, as a character, you could see that she was overlooking Parker. She was focusing so much on those day-to-day needs. How am I going to feed this kid? How am I going to clothe this kid? How am I going to keep a roof over our heads? And she went from being a sister to a mother, and so she completely overlooked his emotional needs. And she missed out that he was grieving too, that he was going through some shit too. And it's not until later that we see how much it was affecting him and how much guilt he was having. And so, I mean, he was grieving, but then you also add in the extra complication of hormones.
Right. And I mean, speaking of guilt, like you mentioned that he was going through grief and he was going through guilt, and he saw the burden that he had become for his sister,
Mhm.
to where, she never had to worry about him. She only had to worry about herself, and she had to give up this whole life that she had for herself to come home and take care first of their mom,
Mhm.
who ended up dying, and then she had to stay and take care of her brother.
Mhm.
That's a lot of guilt. Like, I don't even like, overstaying my welcome at a friend's house.
Mhm.
I couldn't imagine knowing that, you know, someone else is responsible for making sure I turn out okay.
Mhm. Mhm.
Someone that isn't my parent.
Yeah. I mean, and even with that sibling relationship, like she has the same age difference with Parker roughly that I have with my sister. And so you're
Hmm.
already walking that fine line of that parent sibling kind of um, relationship, because it's slightly different than your standard sibling relationship. Like where Lily and Landon, they're going to go through things at the same time with each other.
Right.
Being what, a year and a half, 2 years apart.
Just about.
Yeah, and so with my sister and I, with that 12-year difference, it was, I went through that stuff a lot sooner, before she did. So she had, me as this kind of guideline mentor where, okay, this is where Diana screwed up, so I'm not going to do this. Or this is where Diana was really successful, so I'm going to do it this way too. And then you also have, because you're that much older, you have that you're instant babysitter really easily. You can be trusted to be the babysitter. You're instant, um, caretaker in some ways, and you feel more of that adult, that older sibling
Right.
aspect a little bit more than you do, I think, if you're closer in age,
Hmm.
because of that maturity factor that you have over the other sibling.
Well, I don't know anything about that, so
Well, that's okay. You could just take my word for it.
I will take your word for it.
Yes. And you could talk about having, the siblings with them being really close.
Well, I'll let you know how that goes in about like 10 years.
Oh, I'm sure I'll be hearing a ton of it when Lily hits those teenagers. I'm sure I'm going to be the, oh my God, this girl. I'll be
Oh,
getting those
yes.
texts.
Oh, yes. Easily. Oh, I just thought of something else. But if I was a psychometrist, I'm not sure how they pronounce it,
Mhm.
I would totally do Roan's wine glass test.
Oh, right?
Like, how perfect is that? I mean, maybe not now because I'm married and I can guess with crazy accuracy what Rich is thinking. But
Oh, dude, that gets scary when you're in a marriage. I do that to Ryan, where he'll give a look and I'll be like, no. And he's like, what? I didn't say, I know that look. And there's been a few times where he's thought something, and I get this look on he gets this look on his face. Like, when you're married to somebody, you've been married to somebody for as long as we've been married to our husbands, it's like you get they get this look on their face. And Ryan, one time, I kid you not, he got the look on his face. And I was like, I was like, no, that's not going to happen. Don't you even dare. And I don't even remember what it was. And he was like, what? How do you know what I was thinking? What was I? I wasn't maybe thinking that. I was like, no, I know you. I saw that look on your face, and you were going to do this, this, and this. And it's not happening. And he was just like, oh my God, woman, get out of my head. That was exactly what I was thinking, and it's really scary that you knew exactly what I was thinking.
I can tell, like, if we're out and we're passing someone and Rich is annoyed at something, I can tell you what he is annoyed at, why he is annoyed by it, and what he will say to me to complain about it. I can read his I can get into his annoyed mindset very well.
Mhm.
But when I was single and dating, that wine glass thing would have come in very handy.
It would come in handy if you're having a bad date. Because if I feel like I'm having a good date and things are going well, I don't want to know what they're thinking, just in case they're not on the same wavelength as I am. But if it's going poorly, then I think I would want to know. I'd want to do that wine glass test.
People
Because then I
love
want to
that.
know what they were thinking, if I should just cut and run now, or if there was a way to save it.
Do I need to text Michelle and have her call with a fake emergency now? Or
Or there's this whole other element with being a woman and dating where you can do the test and you could be like, "Are you a psycho killer? Are you gonna kill me if I take you home with me?"
do you have dead bodies buried in your closet? Yes or no? Let's find out.
Yeah.
I remember there not a dead body story. I remember
Yes, we don't tell
there
those on the air.
there used to be an app that I had on like one of my old phones that you could schedule a fake phone call and it would like you could like pick the contact in your phone and it would look like a legit phone call. Like your phone would light up with the person's picture and everything and look like a real call. So you could schedule it like, an hour from now or, half an hour. And you would get a call and be like, oh, I'm sorry, I have to take this.
Hmm.
And then you could leave.
I feel like I missed out on some of the fun stuff like that because when I was dating, we didn't have that much technology. It was right on the cusp of the really major technology stuff like we have now with the smartphones and Twitter and things. Um, but yeah, I feel like those are the only things I missed out on. Really never dating sucks. I never want to do it again.
No, never, ever, ever, ever. Like people talk about like Tinder. I don't even know. I was married before Tinder started. All I know is you like swipe one way or swipe another way. But
Were you married before Tinder started? I don't think you were
uh,
married before Tinder started.
I was well, okay. I don't. I probably wasn't. We weren't married, but we were definitely dating.
Mm-hmm.
So like serious dating.
Yeah.
So we missed the Tinder
Rush.
advent.
Yeah.
And I watched Ghost Adventures tonight, and I don't like how every animal is like ears perked watching something right now.
I feel like that because I watched Black Mirror, and I've watched that before bed a couple times this past
I
few
feel like
weeks,
you
and then
shouldn't do that.
no, I should not do that. That's never a good one. I still haven't recovered from the last one that I watched. Um, that took place up in like really like north area of the northern part of the world. I haven't recovered from that one yet. That one's a tough one.
I had a ghost experience this morning that I'm still trying to figure out what exactly happened. But I woke up, the kids have this Dance Revolution type game where it's like a mat
Mhm.
and the screen has, numbers 1 through 9 and the screen lights up a number and you have to step on the matching number on the mat.
Uh-huh.
So that's in the middle room where we have the trampoline. And I woke up because I heard it turn on and I heard like someone stepping on the numbers, like playing the game.
Mhm.
And Lily was sleeping next to me and Rich was sleeping next to me. So I was like, oh, that's weird. Landon never plays that game. Like, what made him pull that game out? So I'm listening to it go through the whole level and it plays its like jingle that like, oh, level's over, you lost. And as soon as I heard that, I heard Landon shaking the baby gate downstairs, going, can someone open the gate so I can come upstairs, please? I'm like, Not today, Satan. So, like, the stepping part could totally have been fish, like stepping on the numbers. But how did it turn on? Because you have to push that thing, like, forcefully to turn it on.
Maybe one of the kids just left it on.
They better have, because I'm going to douse this whole house in holy water and burn sage and watch The Sound of Music or something to infuse. Well, no, that's about Nazis. That's not feel good. Some
Good
feel
Omens.
good
Watch
movie.
Good Omens.
Watch what?
Good Omens. You should be watching that.
I started watching that. I haven't finished it yet.
It's very feel good, and I love it. It's adorable.
I love David Tennant in it. He's like the best demon ever.
I feel like he's another one that would make a good Rowan.
He would make a good Rowan.
Mm-hmm.
Or he would make a good Stewart.
Oh yeah, I think he would too. He would, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I like Jon Stewart. Mm-hmm. I think you're behind this.
You know who would make a good son? Sandra Oh.
She's got to be older. Sun is like in her 70s or 80s.
True.
Sun is old.
Sun
I could picture Sun, but I could not picture her as an actress. Or I don't know the actress's name, but I could totally picture her, and a very older woman, as her. I don't know. Oh, you know who? I don't know if she would count. I mean, she's Chinese, or Taiwanese, but she's not Korean. But it would be someone like the grandma from Fresh Off the Boat.
I've definitely don't know, but I'll look her up.
Yeah, you should look her up. I think somebody like her would be good too. Because she's got to be able to be stoic. Because Sun's very stoic.
Yeah, see, if Sandra Oh were older, that would be perfect for her because she is very, like in Killing Eve. Well, maybe not the second season, but the first season, she was very very stoic, very nothing cracks this facade, and then she loses her shit completely.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I have to get to I haven't watched the second season. I don't think it's hit Hulu yet.
I don't think it has either.
Yeah.
And it's sad because I need another show because I'm still in withdrawal from Game of Thrones.
Good Omens is very good.
I know. I watched like
The Spanish Princess on Star. That's on Stars, but that's really good.
Really, I'm surprised that you like it.
You know, it's funny that you say that. Even though I'm not gonna pick up another book on the Tudors, because I've read a ton of them and I'm kind of sick of it.
I feel like I read every Philippa Gregory book except for like her newer ones because we read all of them like together.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? That was
our thing. Yeah, for a while we read all of them. What I like about the series is that it's not just from her perspective, like solely her perspective, and it's not that way with any of the women. The show pulls in other historical elements that you don't get in Philippa's books, like the fact that Catherine brought with her a black lady's maid, and there was also some black soldiers that she brought with her to England, and some of their struggles being black in Tudor society, because you didn't really have the full, the full citizenship like everybody else did back then. And then there's the whole the history stuff behind somebody trying to get the throne from Henry that was never in the book. And I kind of like how they're able to just kind of bring in a lot more of that history. So you see that drama that's unfolding, but you still have that guide rail of what was in the book.
Right.
And like she even brought up, I feel like she brought up the mother's stuff more, and you see her sister Johanna in the series, which I don't remember her being in the book.
See, I feel like, is this based on The Constant Princess?
Hmm.
Okay, so I did read that,
Yeah.
but I don't think I read the whole thing. I think I read up until Arthur died and she and Henry were.
Wow, you gave up really early.
Yeah, I wasn't super into. I think I might have been burnt out on the Tudors,
I stuck
even though
around for
this
like
was.
2 more books before I was like, yeah, I'm kind of done with this.
But
That's when I moved on
that
to the Italian stuff.
that was not the case in The Time Collector. I
Right? I
can't.
mean, I feel like with Gwendolyn's books, we can never just like they're not slow reads, and I I was on like chapter, I think it was in the first 100 pages over the weekend, and then I was like, I'm just gonna finish this in a day, and I finished it on Sunday.
I read it on the train downtown last Saturday because, guys, I went to see Hamilton and it was a religious experience for me, and I cried like a baby. Not because of the story, which is very sad at the end and partly during, but I cried because I was actually seeing it in person. Like,
Oh, oh.
that's why I cried.
I can't wait for that to happen to me because it's gonna come back to California in March. And
I
I'm like,
definitely,
I'm going to.
like, it was, and it wasn't just like a single glistening tear. It was like, oh my God, Michelle, get your shit together. You're here by yourself, so you can't even play it off to anyone.
Hold on, tears. Oh yes. I mean,
Yes.
I would. I feel you. I'd be right there with you.
But oh, my journal is near. But I had time to kill because I took the train down, and so I went to this coffee shop, and I kept reading this, and I brought my journal down only because I couldn't fit a second book in the purse that I chose to bring with me. So I brought my notebook to in case I wanted to do any writing, and instead I started taking notes on the book.
You know, it's a really good book when Michelle starts taking notes.
So I have like I think 3 or 4 pages full of like time periods I want to research now and quotes that I liked. Like, did you know that the nanosecond isn't even the smallest unit of time anymore?
Yes, I read that and I thought it was so hilarious. And I love how she had to do some like micro research on certain things because it wasn't like one specific series of events or one specific event. She had to do like this event and then there was this event and based on every object that she grabbed.
Exactly. And I didn't even know that Pope Julius the whatever. Oh, Rich is home early. I didn't know that he just decided that he was gonna take 10 days off the calendar. Like,
Mhm.
okay, bye. Nope. This
For
year is too
popes,
long.
that's why it's like that's why our calendar is so messed up. We had a couple Caesars decide that they needed months named after them. That's why we have, what was it, July and August? Yeah, that's why we have July and August because of Julius Caesar and Augustus Caesar. And then we have, the Pope going, yeah, we don't need 10 days. Let's just mess around with stuff. So that's why we have some.
And
I think isn't that why we have some days that are 30 days and some that are 31? Our calendars all
well,
because of
I'm
people.
gonna research that now. But I remember reading, and then it took Britain like 200 years to decide to alter its calendar to match up with the rest of Europe. So for
Because they're
200
stubborn like
years,
that. I'm good on them.
200 years, they were just like, how many days off were they? Like
Right?
over
Like I
200
have
years.
friends in New
Were they like
Zealand.
were they like 5 years or no? I don't even know. Were they like a whole century ahead of time where finally they were like 200 years later? All right, guys, we'll adjust our calendar. And all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, it's 1492 again. Time
Right?
travel exists.
I am truly 28 all over again. I mean, I can only imagine I have friends in New Zealand that I talk to all the time, and we're always trying to, whenever we try to meet up and talk and FaceTime and things, we're like, okay, so what time is it where you are? Okay, and that means it's what time for me, and then okay, time you guys are gonna have daylight savings time. So how is that gonna affect things for this? I can only imagine.
Is there a whole lot of barnyard animals in your house right now? I swear, I just heard birds chirping and a cow moo.
I told you I live in a zoo.
I swear to God, that's what I just heard.
My window's open, which I
Oh,
know
okay.
you're not supposed to do when you have a podcast going, but it's summertime and it's warm, and I turned off the air conditioning this morning and I refuse to turn it back on. So there are birds chirping outside because, you know, it's nice and lovely and we're in the suburbs of Los Angeles. But that
Also,
mooing you heard was a motorcycle in the
oh, okay.
distance. It was not a cow. I do not live in the country.
All of the animals heard the garage door open, and then they heard the big garage door, and then the door to the garage open and shut, and they all sat there with their ears, both dogs
Aw.
and the cat. And then, like, one at a time, they decided that they're going to get up and investigate. So it's nice to know that they are that on top of someone's in the house. We must guard. We must guard
Well,
the mother.
on that note, we should probably sign off for the night.
Yes.
Especially since we're straight and you can hear the barn animals coming through my window. My zoo's getting out of control, guys.
She got a cow.
Yeah, I am now the farmer in the dell. Was it, or is it Old MacDonald said Old MacDonald, that's Old MacDiana. Old MacDiana had
Not
a farm.
old.
E-I-E-I-O.
Hi. I am on the show. It's Diana. She's right there. Hi. You can edit that part out. It's okay.
Okay. Well, I mean, we're pretty much over anyways.
Well, everyone, keep reading, and we'll be back next week to keep discussing. And we'll drink some more with you guys then too.
Yes. Have a good night.
Bye.